I am back, guys. Inktober week 2. Let's do this. Day 8. Teeth. Now, for this prompt, I kind of went a little more simple. Basically, I just drew a little boy, he's 8 years old, that has like buck teeth. And everyone thinks he's super weird, and no one wants to be around him because he has these weird teeth protruding out of his face. His mom thinks he looked super weird, so she kind of disowned him. Not like literally, but she doesn't have anything to do with him really, because she just thinks he just looks so ugly, unlike the rest of his siblings they're like beautiful, quote unquote beautiful, her standard of beautiful. And he kind of gets adopted into like this beautiful family who kind of, accepts him for who he is, because like they all are strange in a way. They all have, unconventional beauty. So he kind of gets adopted into a family like that, and they like to dress him up, and he lives a pretty good life now because he's in a family that loves him. Day 9, throw. Now, I had so much fun with this prompt. So basically, the idea I kind of went with for this prompt was to just create this boy who had like a head full of hair. He kind of looked like a sheep, and he was always cold. So that's the reason he grew out his hair. The reason he grew out his hair was because he was always freezing, and not from any serious disease or anything. He's just always cold for some reason, kind of like me. So he grew like this huge head of hair to like warm up his face, and he always carries around throws so that he's not cold. He likes fur throws. His favorite color is blue and gray, so he wraps himself up in those, and he just kind of walks around his house like he has some sort of regal dress on. His family thinks he's all weird, but he's a really nice, funny boy. I'd say that he's around 14, 15, or maybe he doesn't even have an age because he's just pretty cool. Day 10, hope. Now, for this drawing, it wasn't too challenging. I just basically needed to, because Hope is an actual name. So all I needed really to do was draw a girl or maybe a guy, but I chose a girl. Draw a girl who looked like her name would be Hope. But that's a little shallow, so I'm going to give her like a cooler backstory. So Hope is part of a family she's a quadruplet. She has 11 other sisters, and they all represent different meanings of peace. There's liberty, and she just happened to be Hope. And together they travel the world like superheroes. She probably has a few like brothers in there too. I'm not going to make them all like 11 other sisters. Maybe she has a couple brothers in there as well. But yeah, like her and her siblings scour the country giving people hope. That's what she does. And, kind of helping people through their times of need. It's pretty cool. Man, I should make a story about this. Like, I kind of got into this drawing a lot. Like, this took me like 14 minutes as opposed to my other drawings that take me like usually 7 minutes to draw. But yeah, I had a lot of fun drawing Hope. She's also kind of oblivious though as well, because she has this kind of power that enables her to always be, hopeful and positive so that she can spread it to other people. But the only downside to that is that she's kind of oblivious to other people's problems. Day 11, disgusting. Now, I didn't really go into this drawing with very much of a plan. I just kind of had this idea of like this girl's mouth like dripping black goo substance, and I was going to create like this really cool backstory for this character, but the more I drew her, the more she started to look like Cardi B. Like, I don't know if this is just my like internalized hatred towards Cardi B. Like, I don't hate her, but I don't like her by all means. I think she's annoying. I think she's just a bad influence. I don't like Cardi B, so I just kind of went with the Cardi B theme. This isn't really Cardi B. I'll just give her. I'll say that her name is disgusting. Basically, the disgusting side of pop, and like other women in the media who I feel like are a bad influence on today's generation. that's really deep, but like it's really not that deep. I just like did a photo of like a girl who had black goo coming out of her mouth, but I'm just kind of talking about my thought process while doing this photo, because I really do not like Cardi B or a lot of other artists that don't necessarily have the best message to be giving out to their obviously teenage audience. So yeah, that's my take on this whole thing. Also to do with like a bunch of like other stuff. You can say that this has to do with like plastic surgery and, you know, all those fake Instagram people and whatever. They really just are what this thing is behind all the, fakeness. Day 12, slippery. Now for slippery, this OC, I didn't really have a plan going into this. I kind of was just gonna like draw a person that was slipping, and then like right before I sat down to draw, I was like, hey, why don't I draw like a slippery thief type of villain? So slippery is basically like, villains like the Joker, Lex Luthor, the Riddler, like if you know what I mean, that type of whole thing. He's like a slippery thief. So like he'll do something destructive, he'll steal something, and like the police can never find him because he's just such a good con artist. And he's been even known to leave clues purposefully at the scene to lead police on these desperate chases, and they never actually get him because he has everything planned out. So he's pretty clever. A little backstory on Slippery is that he grew up pretty privileged actually, but his friends and everybody kind of pressured him into buying these things or trying to get these things that he couldn't actually afford. Like he was pretty privileged, but he wasn't as rich as his rich friends. So he started stealing in order to get what he wanted, and eventually he got caught. And he was disowned by his family, and kind of went insane. And he started being asked to go by the Riddler because he completely went off, he completely went insane because he had lost everything that he had, and he wanted to get it back, obviously. So he went insane and just became like a criminal mastermind, basically. Day 13, Dune. So I actually had to search up what a dune was because I had no idea what it was at all. And when I searched it up, it basically was like, oh, it's like these like cool mountain things in the desert. And like the mountains are like sharp or whatever. Like they're like little like sand formations that form in deserts, I'm pretty sure. So I kind of had the idea to create like this guy who who looked like his face was like so perfect, because the dunes are actually like very beautiful and like perfect looking. So he had a very sharp jawline, he had very sharp cheekbones, kind of like a dune mountain thing, and he just looked so sculpted and so perfect that people started calling him Dune. I'm pretty sure maybe Dune is his actual name. I'm not very sure what his actual name is. His name looks like it should be Jesus because I don't know, like it's insane. But yeah, basically he's like this perfect guy, essentially, who like he has the perfect looks, but he has kind of a bad personality. Like he has kind of no personality, but like he also kind of grew up in the desert, so he's not very well assimilated to modern society, which he goes in. He's kind of like that airhead person that like is from like in those movies that are like from a deserted island, and they have no idea how to communicate with like human beings. Yeah, just think of it like that. He's a really cool person though. He does try to be a nice person. He's not a mean person. He's just kind of naive, if you would take it like that. Day 14, armor. Now for this one, I already had kind of an idea of what I wanted to do. I mean, like I had an idea, but I kind of wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do like a half knight, half human thing, but I didn't know I was going to do a boy. Like I accidentally made the face too short, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to roll with this because I actually have no idea what I'm going to do. So, you know, whatever. Little boy who is half armored and half little boy. So I came up with the backstory for this little boy. He's basically like a prince, little prince who sees that his world basically is in shambles because his kingdom is at war, and he gets this gift that he could be like this like huge like superhero if he wants to. So like throughout his fears, he puts this spell on himself that basically transforms him into like this armor boy, because he has like, you know, a bunch of like magic spell books in his library. He's always been interested in that, so he transforms himself into like this armor boy who can fight alongside his army. And basically what triggered this was that one of the people, he was friends with one of the knights and they died in the war. So he made it like his mission to try and prevent this from happening. He took on the responsibility as a young boy. So he's very honorable. I would also like to add that his father is a complete coward. He refuses to fight in the war at all. He thinks that, you know, that's the job of other people, and that he doesn't, as a king, he doesn't need to step up in any way to do it. But his son is doing it, and, you know, no one even knows that it's the prince who's fighting along in the war. There's just this magical, majestic boy who's been gifted these powers. They're just like, okay, well then this boy is like amazing, but they don't know that it's actually the prince. And his father would be very displeased if he did know that his son was fighting in the war, because he thinks it's, you know, below royalty to do that. And yeah, his mother is dead. And that is it for this week of Inktober. Stay tuned for next week, guys. I'm really excited by some of the prompts. I'm really not excited by some of the prompts, but that's okay. I will be trying to get this out on time. I know I'm probably going to be a few days late, but you know, I hope I'm not that far off. I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you liked this video. And yeah, I will see you in the next week. Goodbye, guys.